What's up, folks?
Folks, you never say folks.
I'm saying folks today. Welcome to another episode of Breakfast with
Wow.
Mark and Jen. We're here to help your Christian marriage thrive.
Yeah.
Now, before we jump into today's topic, if you want your marriage to thrive, I don't know why you haven't purchased this book called The Marriage Cheat Codes. You know, cheat codes help you unlock another level in a
Yeah.
video game. So, as it relates to your marriage, this book helps you unlock another level in your relationship.
Let's go.
If you're married, engaged, dating, or even single but desire to be married, you need to read this book. It's available on Amazon via ebook or paperback. And if you've already read it, you need to leave us a review.
We need reviews, y'all.
Okay? Because we know about 15 million of y'all have read it
Right.
and haven't left a review.
Let's
So,
go.
anyways, today, folks,
Again with the folks.
I don't know why he's so tickled by that.
Because you don't say folks.
Yeah. But because his reaction is so hilarious, I think I'm gonna just call y'all folks today. But folks, we are talking today about his money, her money.
Okay.
I actually saw a post recently on Facebook
Right.
where somebody referred to it as he money, she money.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So his, hers, he, she, but as it relates to money. So, first of all, is there a thing in a marriage considered his money, her money? He money, she money?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Okay. Well, I think the answer is actually yes and no.
That's why I say it's a loaded question because it depends on what you're talking about and the context. And we're going to break it down today.
Yeah.
But let's start with the foundation, Jen, that it's our money.
Yes.
It's one income, one pot of money, and you are charged by God to steward it well together. And if it's a true partnership, then it has to be one not account, but it has to be one pot,
Yeah.
one money, right? For lack of a better term, because I look at it as business, right? So there's aspects of marriage that's actually business,
Right.
because this is a partnership and
Like you
it's
ain't got no business cooking in the marriage if you can't cook.
you on one today.
Ever since you started laughing at folks, something came over me.
And my thing is that there are business aspects to marriage.
Right.
Stop acting like marriage has no business qualities to it, no business components to it.
That's
There's
true.
there is a business component to marriage.
Yes.
People often say we're pastors, so people often say, nothing business about church. There's nothing Jesus, when he was forming a group of disciples, one of them was the treasurer.
Correct. Because he knew things had to be organized, accounted for. Now he didn't chose a thief that he knew was a
Right.
thief because he had a specific purpose.
Right.
But I know that's not what we're talking about today. We're not talking
No.
about Jesus chose a thief.
But I just want it for all the deep folk out there
Yeah.
that's gonna want to say, your marriage is all about love. It's all about two people coming together and everybody's happy and there's no business that goes into it. We know that it shouldn't be all business, but there are components of business that we need
Correct.
to account for
Correct.
and control and steward. So we should come with the premise and the foundation that it's our money. Now, the question is, once you come together with your spouse and you have the agreement that what's yours is mine and what's mine is yours, then to me, you have a healthy foundation upon which
Yes.
you can build a successful marriage financially.
Correct.
And I think we should stay there a little bit, Jen, 'cause I'm going to get your opinion on that because a lot of people walk into marriage and they don't have the understanding of, hey, what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. People walk into it and say, hey, I've accumulated some stuff and that's mine. But once we get in the marriage, whatever we have in the marriage, that's ours. But you can't touch what I have before we got into almost like a prenup type of situation. And I know we're going too far, but let me get your thoughts real quick on the premise that this is our money.
I agree. I agree that that's where you have to start,
Yeah.
because you want to start your marriage with a mindset of being one and being together
And everything.
in every aspect.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that, and I know we're going to now start, if I say this, venturing into other things, but it doesn't mean that one or both parties can't still have their own account.
Yeah.
But it does mean that if you start with the basis of it's our money and whatever comes into the house, both parties have access to, then you're setting a healthy foundation. And I think once you can master that, then you can move on to other
Yeah.
offshoots. Because when we first got married, we just had we had one joint account, and it was fine because the bills were paid from that one account, but also whatever the other person needed. So if I needed, beauty things, if you needed clothes,
Right.
if one of us was at work and wanted to
Right.
eat out for lunch, I
Yeah.
mean, we never called the other person and said, hey, I want to just actually grab a burger for lunch.
Right.
Little purchases like that, we didn't necessarily run by each other because we went into the marriage saying we're both working and earning separate paychecks, but because we're one, you have access to what I have and I have access to what you have.
Right.
But you also told me that you don't mind me having a separate bank account.
I don't mind you having a separate bank account because I think of marriage as a partnership. So, number one, it's a partnership, but even as it relates to the finances, it's even more of a partnership. And if I'm in business with you, then, and we're equal partners, we have equal rights to what comes into the business,
Yeah.
then to me, you should have full access to what's there and what's available and vice versa. So that means then the question is it going to be one account or are you going to have multiple accounts? In a business, in a partnership, if you have a small business and you have two people that have come together to
Right.
form a partnership, you may have different accounts. You may have one account for your checking and you do all of your products and your business out of that. You may have another savings account, or you may have a special account that one partner controls. But it doesn't mean that both parties don't have access to all accounts.
Correct.
And so when you say, yeah, I wasn't afraid to let you have your separate account, that's because sometimes in marriage, you need a little independence. And it can get really blurry. You can get lost in the partnership if you're not walking in your individuality to a certain extent. You can lose who you are. You can lose your individual identity sometimes if you put everything on the other person and you don't feel valued as it relates to money, income, spending,
Right.
authority. All those things kind of speak to your authority in the marriage. And if you don't have that, it could be problematic as it relates
Well,
to your
listen,
value.
but Mark, a lot of women right now, I see it on social media all the time. We're talking about also like their soft girl life, like their soft girl era.
Explain that, because
So
I ain't hear.
a lot
I
of
didn't hear about
women,
that.
I think, especially women of color, but a lot of women feel like, hey, I've been single, I've been working hard, I've been grinding, I've been having to pay all the bills, I've been having to do all the vacations by myself or on a girls trip,
Yeah.
and so they're like, hey, now I'm in my soft girl era, like I want somebody to come pay my bills.
Right.
I want somebody to just come, because when I think about soft girl, I think about this lady, I don't even know who she is. She somehow popped up on my feed on Instagram. I think she lives in Dubai, and she upsets a lot of people online because she is living the ultimate soft girl era. So she does not work, but she still has her own bank account
Yeah.
because her husband is some kind of like mogul. I don't know if it's real estate, oil, all of the above,
Right.
but she doesn't work and yet she still has her own bank account. Okay. And so they have their joint account and then she has her account and he just pours money into it. And
Living
she
the
shows
life.
how, she's getting her
Yeah.
hair done once a week and she's getting her nails done at any sign of a chip or a crack and she's shopping and she's eating out and people are like, sis, that's ridiculous. At least if you're going to be a soft girl, contribute something. She's like, I'm contributing me. She's like, and he's okay with it and I'm okay with it. And so some women are like, well, then you must not be very independent because you're relying on him for money.
Right.
And she's like, I'm independent because he goes off to work and I do whatever I want to do with my day.
Yeah.
So when you say independence, I guess it means different things for different people.
It means different things for different people. And the question is, so
But is that dangerous, Mark?
It's dangerous.
Some women are telling her, what if tomorrow he decides he does not want you? What happens to your soft girl life?
Well, I think she's still going to have some semblance of life because no matter what the prenup is or the agreement is, or if there is agreement and if there's not an agreement, she will still be able to live a certain life, right? Especially if they have kids and all that stuff.
Well, they
So
don't
she's
have
not.
any kids.
They don't. She doesn't. Well, listen. She's not going to be down and out in the sewer, right? And
Just
depending on
like
where
sitting on top of the sewer. No, because I don't know.
she's not going to be sitting on the sewer because depending on where they live, you're still going to be able to walk away with something.
Okay.
Okay. But there's a difference between independence and interdependence.
That's good.
Independence and interdependence. And I feel like I can clarify what I said earlier by saying that in a marriage, you should have interdependence more than you should have independence.
Okay.
So you should be independent within the confines of partnership, which means then you're more interdependent. So
Gotcha.
you can have a level of independence, but you're not totally isolated and on your own
Right.
and living a single life. You're
Right.
more interdependent. So you can have your own bank account and you can do, but you still have to have that commingle to a certain extent
Yeah.
with your spouse. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. And what I like is that I think you also have to make sure that whatever you do with your money in a marriage has a purpose.
Right.
Right? You have to be intentional about everything. So if you have a separate bank account, what is the reason? That also matters.
Right.
Do you have a separate bank account because you're going into the mindset saying all men are dogs or all women, no woman is loyal?
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna have my separate account because at some point she's gonna fail me. At some point he's gonna fail me. Or are you having it separate because maybe you all have discussed it and you just have certain goals and your spouse is okay with you saving up for those goals, or maybe your spouse for whatever reason prefers that you spend from a separate account,
Yeah.
right? Like I know a woman right now that I look up to. She said she and her husband have a joint account. She has a separate account. And she said he kind of prefers the way they run their household for the main account to pay bills
Right.
and for the family things. And then he loves that she just uses her account. She said she strictly uses it for things in life that she doesn't need, but she wants.
Right.
So she doesn't need a spa day as often as she has one, but because she can afford it, she goes on a lot.
Right.
Uses it for her nails, her hair, her bags.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they couldn't afford it from the main account, but he's like, listen, you also run your own businesses. So if you want. But she said the thing is, as independent as she is, to have that, he has access to the separate account. He just chooses not to use it.
Yeah.
But she's like, if the household ever was in a crazy emergency and they needed to also pull from her separate account, her husband's not out here, can't get to it. So I think it's all about intention. They just choose to set up. He just doesn't want to see every time she gets a Gucci bag, it's coming from the main.
Yeah. It has to come from your account based on how they have it set up, right? But my thing is this, Jen, is that would we ever say that if there's two partners in business, that it's okay if one of the partners has a secret bank account that the other partner doesn't know about?
No, we would
Would
actually.
we ever say that that is okay?
No, we would say that particular business partner is deceptive and the business at some point is going to fail.
So why in the world would we think it's okay for one party in a marriage to have a secret bank account that the other party does not know about?
Exactly. That's the
What?
other thing. He money, she money, but does your spouse know about? Like if you're the wife, does he know about your she money? If you're the husband, does she know about your he money? Because that's really where we have the issue is when a spouse either can't get any access to your account or doesn't even know you have one. Now, that's next level when you have saving up all this money, your spouse doesn't even know
Yeah.
that that's happening.
That is where you have the issue. And for some reason, some people think that it's okay to do it that way because they've heard, well, if it fails, at least you won't be left with nothing. If it fails, you'll have some kind of safety net. If it fails, you'll be able to take care of yourself. We never go into business partnerships that way. Why are we going into marriages that way? And then we
Yeah,
question why it doesn't work.
exactly.
It's because you have trust issues. Let's bring it down
Oh, the
to the
roots.
root of the fact that his money, her money comes down to trust. And some people, it's easier for them to trust their spouse with their body or their heart than it is for them to trust their spouse with their money.
Yeah, that's true.
And some for a lot of people, the ultimate test of their trust is their money.
That's why we tell people if you can tithe, you trust God
With you.
completely
Yeah.
because money is that one thing that gets people, it ruins
Yeah.
relationships. I mean, money, the Bible says, answers all things. Money is such a big deal. So I agree that when you have to keep your money a secret, it's because you don't trust.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
because you don't
you.
trust your spouse.
Talk
Because
about
this
that.
this talk is not about whether or not you have to have a separate account or a joint account. You can do whatever works best for your marriage. If
Right.
you don't want a separate account, we're not saying you have to go get one. But we're saying if you are going to have one, but you don't plan to tell your spouse, something is wrong. What is it about either your past experiences that you have not healed from or about your current spouse that makes you not trust them and you have not discussed it?
Say that again. I like the second one. What is it about your current spouse that you don't 100%
And
trust?
you haven't even discussed it with them. So there's something in them that you don't trust. So you go have a separate secret account.
I actually,
Listen,
yeah,
people think
yeah.
SSA stands for Social Security Administration. For some people, it stands for separate secret account.
I like it.
You don't work for the social, telling your spouse, oh, this is from the SSA. And they're thinking it's from the Social Security Administration. It's from your separate secret account.
Listen, it comes down to trust. It
It
comes down to
that
trust.
that's the bottom line.
It comes down to trust. I know marriages that have one account.
One account.
You don't have to, but I know successful marriages that have one checking account,
Yeah.
one savings
Yep.
account, and their money directly is deposited into that account
Yep.
every time they get paid.
Yep.
No questions asked
Mm-hmm.
because they fully trust.
Right.
They fully trust and they're willing to risk it all.
Yeah.
When you get married, you're risking it all. You can't risk 50% of you and expect your marriage to be successful.
That's what we
You
say.
have
It
to
takes 100.
you have to jump all the way in and
Yep.
be like, "Hey, I'm going to give all of my money or put all of my money at risk." So, when you're married and it comes to your money, you can't diversify your trust.
Ooh.
You know how you invest money, and these experts say you should diversify your investments. That makes sense. So you can mitigate your loss because investing is risky.
Right.
God says if you're going to get married, it's one of the biggest risks, if not the biggest risk you can ever take in your life. And he says, I want you to risk it all. I want you to forsake your mother, forsake your father, leave everything and put it all on this one person and become one with them. So that means you're going to risk all your money. If it doesn't go well, you're going to lose. You
Yeah.
will lose.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. If the marriage doesn't work,
Yeah.
you will lose. Stop trying to mitigate a loss that's inevitable if it goes left.
Oh, wow. That's good.
I lose everything if the marriage doesn't work. I
Right.
lose everything.
Right. And so all you're saying then is that you go into a marriage expecting to put everything in and expecting them to put everything in, and you don't go into it expecting it to fail, but you go into it assuming a high risk.
I go into it saying the rewards are going to far exceed my losses
Yeah.
and my pain, because I'm going to have losses, I'm going to have pain, but the reward is going to be so great. I'm willing to take this risk. I think that's why a lot of people still get married today, because they're banking on the reward that comes with a healthy marriage. But you
Yeah.
have to play the game by the rules.
Right.
You
That's the
can't be
thing.
out here breaking rules,
Breaking the
Jen.
rules and then wondering why it's failing. I mean, listen, people take risks. It's funny because people take all types of risks in life all the time, but then sometimes when it comes to marriage, they're like, "Hey, actually, I want everything to be everything about the marriage and the relationship to be risk free." But you take other risks in life,
Yeah.
sometimes no questions asked.
Yeah, because there was a season in our marriage where we used to love watching shows about investors that went left and took people's money. I forget what it was called, like money schemes or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
And it was an inside look at all the people that had billions, millions of dollars,
And
and they
set
took
up these
people.
Ponzi schemes.
Yeah, and it was crazy. And of course, one of the most well-known, infamous Ponzi schemes of all time is Madoff, right?
Yeah.
And we're watching that. And what happens is somewhere along the line, you break the rules because you're so selfish and you're in it for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't think about other people.
That's true. That's good.
And when it comes to his money, her money, the reason why it's our money, and then we disseminate and think about how we're going to strategize about it from there. The reason why it has to be our money is that I have to let go of my pride, my own desires, give way to your desires, and
Right.
say, what do we do? Is this a season that I lay aside some of the things I want to do with the money so that you can go to school? And we have to pay down your debt, and we
Right.
have to do that, or the kids need this, so that it takes you letting go of your own desires and becoming selfless.
Yes.
And when you start breaking these rules, it doesn't work. If you're going to be selfish and have a secret bank account, I'm sorry,
No.
one day that comes back to bite you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't matter how long you're able to get away with it, you won't always get away with it. Something will happen, and maybe it won't even be that they stumble across your account details somehow, but maybe it's something like you just run into a hardship and you're like, oh, we could throw a couple grand at that.
Yeah,
And then your spouse is like, well, where did you get a couple grand from?
yeah.
And then you have to be like, oh, I've been saving for a rainy day. And they're like, well, I didn't know about this saving for a rainy day. Which rainy day were you saving for?
Yeah, because when I look at this money, that's like a rainy hurricane.
Right.
Ain't no rainy day. That's like a rainy month, because look at all this money you've been hiding from me.
Exactly.
So I think that's some insight there. I want to push it a little bit further, Jen, and talk about prenups.
Yeah.
The last time I talked about prenups and went wild, and people had a lot to say
All right.
about prenups. I don't know if I should let you go first about prenups, but
It's up to you. I'm always, prenups are so tough for me because I just grew up in a household and in a generation where it
Yeah.
still wasn't a big thing amongst Christians.
Yeah.
So it's tough for me because, to be in full transparency, we didn't get a prenup
Right.
because the background we came from,
Yeah.
if you're a Christ follower, you don't get a prenup. This
And
is
I ain't
still
have nothing to prenup.
well, neither did I. So we got married so young, 22
Right.
and 24. So, um, but it's tough for me, Mark, because I can see both sides. I mean, there's part of me that still wants to stand by, but y'all are like
Yeah.
expecting failure,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's the other part of me that's like, but if a 50-year-old woman who has amassed a lot is getting married for the first time and she comes to me and she's like, but PJ, I am worth, $2.5 million. And I love this man, but at the same time, if he goes left, he shouldn't be able to take me to the cleaners because he didn't help me get this 2.5 mil. So my advice is
It's
just don't make your millions until you get married because then we don't even
it's
have to,
it is no joke. And this is what happens when you start advising couples at a certain upper echelon of society, a certain high class, a certain high scale of economics and professionals and all that, because it makes a difference. What
Yeah,
I've learned is that there's no one size that fits all
that's good.
when it comes to life, when it comes to counseling, when it comes to advising people. You can't just say this one rule fits everybody, because there are specific situations that you may have to say, for the success and the health of this marriage, it has to be structured differently.
That's good. I like that about prenups, that instead of saying no or yes across the board,
Yeah.
it has to be a case by
Has to
case
be case by
basis.
case, and you can put you a prenup you can write any way you want.
Right.
You can really structure it in a way that's palatable for both parties, and in a way that doesn't say, hey, I'm not risking anything in this marriage, or
Right.
I'm worried about losing everything. There's ways to put it together, but
Right.
I do believe that certain situations call for specific strategies in order for it to be successful, and it may even just help to put somebody's mind at ease so that they can fully trust.
Right.
um you know one of our mentors said, hey, Mark, you like to live life on a tightrope. You love walking tightropes. you
Yeah.
you just love making things harder than they need to be. You're so adventurous. And you know getting married is walking on a tightrope.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, can I put a safety net under it?
Mm.
And this may be counteracting some of the things we said previously at the beginning of this, but we're trying to show you there's so many sides to what we're talking about,
Yeah.
that for some people, they may need a safety net
Yeah.
depending on what their financial situation looks like
Right.
in order for the marriage to be healthy. And I'm not against it. What I am against is you not having full trust.
Yep. Not having full trust, not having full disclosure and
Yeah.
transparency.
And if you're gonna hide it, yeah.
Yeah, if you're hiding your assets, if you're hiding your debt, if you're hiding, that's a totally different story,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if you're getting the prenup without telling your spouse exactly what you're worth, exactly what, that's then it is wrong, regardless of,
Yeah.
to me, what else you have going on.
Yeah. I wish God just put prenups in the Bible and told us what to
Right,
do.
because he knew they were coming,
He knew they were coming.
and just help pastors in this era
There's
have.
no scripture for that.
No, but it does force us to pray about it as it's presented to us and say,
Yeah.
God, in this specific situation, what do you want us to do?
Yeah. So don't go out there and you got $5 to your name talking about, I want a prenup.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you don't need one. You don't need one. So,
and you're just causing all type of trust issues. But in certain cases, it may be something that needs to be discussed. I think this has been a really good one,
It's been
talking
excellent.
about his money, her money.
He money, she money.
Yeah, and we actually talk about finances in the book, and that's why you need to go ahead and grab it so that your marriage can be healthy, it can thrive, and we could just help you get over whatever hump, whatever mountain you're currently climbing
Yeah.
in your marriage. Let's do this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, this has been another episode of Breakfast with Mark and Jen, and we will catch you next time. Take care.